Hi, ceramics class. Okay, now we're going to start working on what is called the armature for the creature or object that you are making. Armature is basically framework that the clay will go around so that it will hold the shape. We're making sure that the clay sculpture is going to be hollow, not solid clay, and that you are making the armature properly so that your piece doesn't explode or crack because the clay shrinks. So, ready to get started? Here we go. Okay, the first thing you want to think about is your papers. We're going to be using paper for the armature, basically because paper will give. Okay, so see, paper, when we put the clay around it, will give, because remember, clay shrinks. So you want to make sure that whatever you are using, it does give. Okay, the paper that I'm using here is a tissue paper. It was wrapped around a gift that I received. You might also look to see if there's any packaging in your house that is really a light paper. You want to use a light, easy paper, nothing too thick. Lined paper is pretty good. And magazine paper on the inside. Maybe there's like an advertisement page or something that your parents won't mind that you tear out, or the entire magazine. Newspaper is excellent. I don't have any newspaper, but you want a paper that is pretty soft. You can use regular Xerox paper, but it's a little more rigid. It doesn't crinkle up to the same kind of softness that you get from like tissue paper. Tissue paper you can form so much easier. So you want to get a paper that is pretty malleable. You definitely want to stay away from any kind of cardboard things. Cardboard does not give. You know, I'm pushing on the side here and it does not give. You have to make sure that your armature is going to give, because as the clay shrinks, if your armature doesn't give, your piece will crack. You can also use foil. Foil can be used for interior part. We're going to be putting paper around it generally, but if I'm going to make something in foil, I'm going to ensure that it is pretty soft, that it'll take the shrinking of the clay. You can see this one is pretty hollow inside. Okay, so as the clay shrinks, the foil will give easily. The other thing you can do with foil is you can make like a wire. So I'm going to twist and twist and twist the foil, compressing it. Now the clay cannot go directly on this because it doesn't give at all. The clay will definitely break. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a wire to build my paper sculpture around that will in turn have the clay around the paper. So I've created a big long like wire that will hold a shape. That will help me to create something that maybe is standing or something that I want to have a particular shape to. Now I've already partially created a wire sculpture here. I'm going to do a figure sitting with long legs. And I've used a can of tomatoes to put him on top of, just to help form his legs where he's going to sit. So the arms that I've just made, I can apply either with tape, regular tape, masking tape, duct tape, any kind of tape that you have, or I can use toothpicks. If you have toothpicks in your home, you just take toothpicks and stab it right through, and I could push it all the way in so that the toothpick doesn't show. But the toothpick is there holding the arms in place, and I can push that through. Okay, so I can use those, and then I can shape the arms to do whatever I want them to do. Okay, once I have my figure made out of foil, then what I'm going to have to do is take the light paper that I had earlier, and I'm going to have to build, because this is not going to give. The clay is going to crack if I put it straight on here. So now I have to build a paper outer shell. So I'm going to take paper and using tape, I'm going to tape into place the outer shell. so that now when I put on the clay will give into the paper. So you can see it's all a little squishy, so it'll give to the clay. All right, I'm not going to waste time showing you how to do that. I think you all can coat with paper. If, though, you find that there's a piece that's sticking out a little bit that you just can't quite tame, it's not exactly the way you want it, you don't have tape at home, whatever, you'll be able to push those pieces down with clay later. But you want to make sure that the outer layer is paper so that your clay will give. Now, if you don't have foil and want to construct with paper, you can. You can use the soft tissue paper and you can tape it into whatever shapes that you want. So let's just say I'm going to use this soft tissue paper as a head for something. So I'm just going to loosely tape it. Loosely, loosely, loosely. You want to make sure that, I'm going to keep saying it, that your armature has give. Okay, so now I've loosely constructed a bit of a sphere shape. I can put in toothpicks, just like the foil, and stick it into another piece if I want to. The other thing I can do is if I only have Xerox paper to use, and you crunch it up into a shape that you want, you're going to find that there's going to be some parts here that don't give very well. This paper is very hard. It doesn't give well at all. There's going to be sharp edges. So what I'm going to do is get some water and soak my paper for just a little bit. Paper is generally constructed out of really tiny wood fibers. And now it's really loosened the paper up. But glue is in the paper and it helps to hold the fibers together. So I've molded the paper into a round shape, and what will happen is the glue will set and it will stay round like this. So now I can go put it in the sun and it'll dry out, and so now I have a rounder ball that will dry in the sunlight. But then what's going to happen is this might be too strong. So I can take a paper towel later, and I don't have to waste so much paper towel, and I can loosely ball the paper towel around it so that I'm not wasting paper towel, but I'm able to get a paper that gives. Paper towel is a lot softer. So if you have to use Xerox paper, you're going to want to coat yours in paper towel or toilet paper. Both of these are nice soft papers. They're at a premium, so please be sure you're asking your parents before you use any new products kind of thing. I'm sure they won't mind if you use the recycle. The other thing you can do is you can roll the paper. You can roll the paper, and you can create, like if I wanted to have a long cylinder piece, instead of using a coil of clay, I have a round piece now that I can put the clay across. You have to be careful though, because if you're folding it to make legs or something else, you're going to find again, this part here does not give. It's really strong. So your piece will crack. Okay, I'm constructing a different kind of figure now, and I've got a leg going here. So I've got the thigh section and the lower leg and a foot. And what I've done is I've rolled tubes of paper, and I'm loosely taping them together. So I'm just rolling all different kinds of tubes and taping it so that they stay together for me to put the clay around. And I'm not getting anything fancy, but the clay can now shrink because these tubes give. So you can construct it with tubes if you want to, of paper. You can also, if you have sticks, you can construct armature with bamboo sticks. I have bamboo skewers I found at home. I have some stir sticks, toothpicks. So I can use sticks to create my armature of whatever it is I want to make. I can glue or tape it together, but once again, you're going to have to take paper to wrap around whatever it is you are making so that the clay can give. Okay? Bottom line, you can use whatever you have at home to construct. The paper will burn out in the kiln because it gets really hot. The foil will basically burn out. There might be a little bit of residue metal left, but you can use whatever you want as long as the exterior of your armature has give. If it doesn't, remember your clay will shrink and your project will crack and break. Okay, so now that you know how to build armature, if you have any questions, email me, but scrounge around your house, see what you can find, and start building.